Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted to be joined by Elliot Gray, which of course means we are in preview mode. This particular fight we are looking at is a late replacement for none other than the monster, arguably the best pound for pound fighter in the world, non-negotiably top three pound for pound fighter in the world. Of course, we are talking about NAOYA INOUE, who was meant to be facing Sam Goodman. First on it was meant to be Christmas Eve. Then obviously meant to be January 24th, but he's that eye injury. So we have a late replacement in Joon Kim for now UNA. But before we get into it, please do check out the rest of the content on the channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, all of your boxing needs under one roof. But as I mentioned, this is a preview. And as we like to do now, and you will know if you're a dedicated, loyal fan of our channel and the preview show itself, we like to talk about some bigger questions, perhaps before we actually dissect the fight itself. With that being said, Elliot, I want to ask you, where is now Yunui's ceiling? Do you see him? People are talking about him going through the weights. He's already a four-weight world champion, two-weight undisputed champion. Could he go to featherweight and dominate? Could he go to super featherweight and dominate? Could he go to welterweight and dominate? How far does now Yunui go for you?
First off, well, thank you very much, Paul, for having me. And thank you. Obviously, like to be back here with you. I think it's a tough one, isn't it? We've seen him start down. What was it, light fly, whatever, where he was first sort of going. And then you look at, especially look at Manny Pacquiao. He went what, 8 weights. And some people obviously cast suspicions over that with the current boxing climate, but still went up 8 weights. So you could say, yeah, he's got another. Especially jumped to weight, didn't he? So he's just maybe another three left. I've been looking. I think I look at featherweight, you got like Espinosa, Nick Ball up there, Angelo Leo, those sort of names. I think he could pick up a belt there. I do. I think he could pick up a belt at featherweight. I don't think he could dominate necessarily at featherweight. I think that's where you also look at it and go, I mean, someone like Espinosa's big man, is he down at that weight as well? Would be quite a difference in physicality. But I think he could pick up a belt there. Super feather, I also, you got up there, you got the likes of Navarrete. I don't think you could beat Navarrete necessarily because the size difference would be crazy, but you got Foster, could catch those sort of names. I actually think with a favourable draw, he could get a world title up in super feather. I really do. But for me, that's where his ceiling ends. I think when you get to sort of lightweight, you're looking at the likes of Davis, Loma. Even though like height wise, there's not too much difference. Like the body, like the way they sort of fill out as well. I think lightweight would be too much for him, to be honest. I really do. I think even looking up against the champions up there, I think it'd be a step too far. So yeah, I think possible belts at feather and super feather if he wants them, especially at feather. I think he definitely pick a belt at feather. But yeah, I think lightweight for me is the limit for him. What about yourself?
Yeah, mate. I can't really disagree with what you were saying. It was kind of a, I suppose it was a tongue in cheek of kind of talking about welterweight there. But Manny Pacquiao did it, and as you know, he did start in similar weights as now you know he did. Would tend to agree with you, mate. I think in terms of his ceiling, I could see him winning a belt at 126 at featherweight. Could he win a belt at super featherweight? Yeah, he probably could. I mean, talent wise, there's no disputing that no
Mm.
matter who he's up against, he's probably going to be a more talented fighter. It is just a matter of the size and the general kind of, I suppose, like if you're fighting a career super feather who's boiling down from, you know, maybe walking around at 160 or whatever, whereas you've got a Nue who's definitely not walking. He's probably only walking about it around featherweight anyway, like to the max. You know what I'm talking about? So there, you're fighting someone who is just a massive compared to you. And I've mentioned it a time and time again, and I'm going to mention it again. It's the same as like Lomachenko. When he went up to lightweight, that has turned out to be his ceiling, hasn't it? Winning titles and stuff there, but it's the size that kind of beat him more than anything. And it happens. It happens. And yeah, I think the same for now. Mate, I believe that he could win a world title at featherweight against some of those names you mentioned. Love to see those fights. Don't necessarily think it could dominate. Maybe too difficult to do that. And yeah, don't think it could dominate at super feather. But I would say I with a wee bit of confidence, yeah, I could see him winning a belt at 130. I could see him winning a belt at 130. Whether or not we ever see him fight at super feather or not, though, it remains to be seen. But yeah, time will tell, man. Time will tell. Before we come on to our predictions about this late replacement fight for Monster Inoue, do you think anybody at 122 pounds can actually beat him? He hasn't fought. Obviously, Goodman might get rescheduled as the mandatory. I'm not too sure how that'll go. You've obviously got Akhmadaliev down there. People talking about that Junto Nakatani super fight that would involve Nakatani jumping up to super bantam from bantam. Is there anybody at 122 pounds that you think could actually beat Naoya Inoue?
I'm going to keep this relatively short and sweet by way of immediate answer, and that answer is no. But I think out of those names you mentioned, I think he beats Goodman convincingly. I really do. I don't think that's a competitive fight. I think Medalliev's not a bad fight. He came off a decent win, didn't he, against Carlos Espinosa. I think that's still a good fight. I mean, you look at Medalliv, obviously 13-1, so there's a level of inexperience possibly compared to Inoue, frankly. And I would probably have to make a Inoue favourite in that fight, even though I think it'd be a good fight. I'd definitely watch it. I think the one you mentioned, Nakatani, coming up to fight him was actually probably the fight I'd probably like to see maybe out of the three of them the most, to be perfectly honest with you. I'd still back Inoue anyway to win that fight, but I think that's the one I'd like to see. But to be honest with you, now I think he's got the division on lock, mate. To be honest with you, if it is not as long as he kind of wants it. But to me, I see him you know, maybe having maybe one or two more down the division, maybe fighting at Madlib just to sort of silence people essentially. Maybe obviously getting that fight that time he comes up. But I think I will probably likely see him, I think, move up to featherweight in the non too distant future, probably try and grab another belt there and, add to the sort of legacy, as it were.
Yeah, man, for sure. I don't think right now, with confidence, I can't say that anyone beats Inoue at 122. I'd maybe doubted in the past whether he could have cleaned out the division, but he has done that, and I don't see anyone being able to beat him now. I think the Akhmadaliev fight's a good one. I want to see it. Not an easy fight, but I would back Inoue to win. Similarly, if Nakatani were to come up, again, a cracking fight, but I still favour Inoue in that one. And yeah, as you said, Goodman I expect to win. And this weekend, another super bantamweight that he's going to be up against is of course you, Joon Kim. And we kind of might give a bit of stick. People might be a bit pissed off at this late replacement, but it's a late replacement. There's not a lot that you can do. You know what I mean? This fight's been made on 2 weeks' notice, so fair play to Kim for jumping in. But is the writing on the wall here? Are you? What's your final prediction?
You know what? For those of us of a certain generation who watch this film, and it's a boxing classic, but my prediction is this. I'm doing an impression here, Paul. My prediction is pain. As the old Clubber Lang would say, therefore, it's going to be a painful night for him here, Paul. It really is. I mean, I'm actually shocked. I'm shocked he's taking this. I know if someone offers you, I suppose, a world title shot, you think maybe I'm never ever going to get this chance again. So fair enough, I'll jump in there. But I mean, you're looking at like a guy who's been fighting sort of 8 rounders. I mean, he's gone 12 rounds once. I think what was that, nearly like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. I mean, he's not going to go. It doesn't really matter to be honest. He's not going to go 12 rounds there. But it's just a case of I'm stunned he's taking it. I think I'm kind of, it's frustrating because you think Inoue's going to have gone through like training camps. Like there's only so many miles like on your body that you can put on it. It seems to me like it's a wasted camp really for this sort of fight. I know it's not his fault. It's a late replacement, like you say, but I think he's just going to throttle him whenever he wants. Hopefully, he lets him sort of see a few rounds, to be honest. And it's not one of those sort of beatings where you think, oh, actually, that was kind of. But I can kind of see it almost being like such a gross mismatch. I don't think Inoue benefits from it either. I think it just looks quite a sort of tragic beating on someone who shouldn't be in there with him. So I just think it's going to be KO somewhere very early, somewhere around 4. Maybe I think he might let him have a couple of rounds, and then just as soon as he steps it on, it's going to be over.
Yeah, mate, I think I'm with you on that one. I think he's completely out of his depth here, Kim. I hope he's being paid handsomely for this, to be honest with you as well, because yeah, it's a it's a tough ask, and he probably knows himself that if he lasts 2 or 3 rounds, it's probably a win, um, in most people's eyes anyway. I think Inoue gets through him in 3 rounds probably, and then hopefully 2025 produces bigger fights against the likes of Nakatani, Akhmadaliev, or maybe even that move up to featherweight. Elliot, thanks very much for joining me, mate. As always, guys, please let us know in the comments what you thought about what we just discussed. Where is NAOYA New Zealand? Can anybody beat him at Super Bantam? Also, your predictions for the fight, and please do like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're not doing so already. Elliot, thanks very much, mate. All the best.
It's Paul, as always, guys. Thank you very much for watching.